In 2 days, we got $500,000 worth of orders, and we had no way of fulfilling even a tenth of it. I really am not kidding. We pulled 10 all-nighters in the month of December. My dad, who runs a business, came out for 2 weeks to help. It was nuts. At one point, I'll never forget it. It's like February. I'm like ready to break down. I honestly, it was like exhaustion. And I emailed Mark. I'm like, Mark, like, we don't know, like, should we shut down the web? Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, we are so underwater and it feels like there's no end in sight. And he's like, just stop what you're doing. Go home and take a shower. Go to bed. Don't ship anything for the rest of the day and get some sleep. And tomorrow you're going to go back and you're going to keep going. And don't shut the website off.
Really?
Yes. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that.
We have Ashley Thompson, the co-founder and CEO of MUSH, on today's podcast. And I'm a big fan of MUSH. It's basically overnight oats is what it is, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it's delicious.
Yes.
And that's why you're here, right? Basically, because I go to the Expo West. I love food. Let me just give you, before I go even delve into you, which is why you're here, I want to tell you that I go to the Food Expo every year for lots of reasons, just based on what I do. And I just love food. And I found you guys like years ago. Like, how long have you been around for?
We launched into retail in 2017. So
we've
been around for 5 years. But we were at Expo several years ago, pre-COVID. So you might have seen us there.
I think I think I found you, like, or I there was other like private, like there were investors talking about it. And so I think someone gave it to me, or maybe your company sent me some, I don't know, but I loved it. And that was, I think, 3 years, right before COVID, like a year before COVID. So I'm really happy to have you because obviously was it your idea that was
Yes. And thank you for having me here. I'm excited welcome. As well. It's such a privilege.
No, I'm so happy to have you. Don't mind my phone, but
no worries.
Because let me just kind of back up. So you came from Wall Street, you were at Goldman Sachs as an analyst, right?
Yep.
And so kind of, what is your background? Why did you even kind of ricochet into the CPG world in the first place? Like, give me some background.
It starts like well before Wall Street. So like a lot of stories, it all goes back to childhood. Yeah. So I grew up on the East Coast. There were 5 kids. We didn't have a ton of resources, so we ate a ton of cereal. So I've always had this obsession with cereal, and I used to eat it breakfast, sometimes lunch, dinner if I didn't like what my mom was cooking. We had a lot of chicken and rice, so I would mix it up with Fruit Loops. And so 3 things in childhood really impacted my trajectory. The first was my dad became an entrepreneur, and it changed our life. We went from not having a lot to having so many resources, and pretty quickly. And I saw just how risk, like taking on risk and working hard, could really change your circumstances. He was so inspiring to me. The second thing is, I think I was 10 at the time. My older sister was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and it was so impactful to her life, to our life as a family. It really woke us up to nutrition, health, wellness.
Sure.
And I became obsessed. I've always been like a super curious person. And became obsessed with understanding how what we eat affects how we feel, how we show up. So I went on this sort of lifelong journey of exploring nutrition and diets, and all in service of trying to like feel good and be good. And so I carried that with me throughout my life. And I ended up going to college in New York, studying math and economics. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I sort of knew in the back of my head that health and wellness was my passion. And I love to talk about passion. That was my passion, but I was sort of swayed by external factors that led me to going to Wall Street.
Like money?
Chief among them. growing up, not having a lot and then seeing that you could have more, I was driven by that, like the freedom, the freedom that finances can give to you or the prison they can put you in.
Right. Like the golden handcuffs.
Totally. Yeah. And that was part of the story. Like I could see there's such golden handcuffs when you work at a place like Goldman. It's like that bonus is like a high, It like sucks you in, it keeps you going. So anyway, I get there and was
that your first job out of college too?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I got an internship in college, made my way. That's like a game of the most competitive musical chairs. Ugh. It's like, 80 students or 80 plus students for the summer. And there's probably like 30 seats. And it's like 80 really competitive, really smart people vying for these seats.
You went to Columbia, right?
Yeah, I went to Columbia. Okay. Yep.
Where were the most of the people from? Were they like Harvard?
A lot of
Wharton?
Ivy Leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton of kids from Columbia, like you're in the epicenter of finance being in New York. But like all the top, 20, 30 private schools are big feeders into both finance and consulting. Right. And I wanted to be in trading because I could see it was like highly competitive, a lot of risk, a lot of reward. Right. I was just always drawn to that. And
probably not a lot of women in that.
None.
Were you like one of the only ones?
Yes. And what was cool, and this just happened again, like I was lucky in this sense. I was hired onto a desk that was run by a man. And eventually he left and a woman took over. So she, her name's Beth Hammock. She's such a badass. She's actually now the treasurer of Goldman Sachs.
Wow. I'm going to write her name down.
Yeah. Beth Hammock. Talk about like Stanford grad. The fastest talker. I was like so petrified of her. It was funny when I told her I was leaving, like the look on her face. She's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to start an oatmeal company. And like, she like did not know how to interpret it. Like she was just like, what?
Completely shocked. Well, how many years were you there?
I was there for 3 years. So I was 24 and, I impulsively quit. I have like high impulse for sure. Like when I get something in my head, it's like, boom. And like, I don't really see risk, which is probably why I wasn't going to be a good trader. Like I don't see risk, I think, the way other people see it. I like almost don't see it at all. I'm like, of course we can get this done. And of course there's no issue that will come up. And of course we're going to get through it.
That's a great attitude to have though.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. And I mean, I don't know what it is about me. I think I saw that in my father. Like he took on so much risk.
I was going to ask you, what did he do that you went from like feast to famine?
Yeah.
Or famine to feast, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. And like not in any like true dramatic way. Like we weren't food insecure, but I mean, 5 children and not a lot of resources. So, and that's probably one other thing that was super impactful for me. Both of my dad's parents died at a very young age. Like he was on his own at 17 and they both died of health issues. And I could see just how impactful that was on his life, like how sad it can be and truly heartbreaking and how it shaped his trajectory. And I don't think he would change anything for the world, maybe to see his parents again. But like, again, back to like health and wellness and how impactful, like if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
You have nothing. Exactly.
So that was also super impactful. But anyway, he didn't go to college. He barely graduated from high school. Again, his mom died when he was 12. His dad died when he was 17. He barely made it through high school. Eventually got it together, went to trade school and started working for Honeywell, big corporation, a lot of electrical engineering stuff, what have you. And after a few years of that, I think actually when I was like 1 or 2, he said, enough. I'll never be able to climb this corporate ladder because I don't come from that background. I don't have an MBA. I don't, there's a ceiling here and I am capable of doing more. Like I believe in myself. So he quit and started his own company, designing and installing electrical control systems for hospitals, any sort of like commercial building. So all the heating, cooling, humidity control. He does a lot of work with hospitals, like the surgical rooms, controlling the atmosphere, the air in the room, et cetera. And he did phenomenally well. I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah, he is like, he's my hero. So is my mom. But he's my hero.
But you said something, I think that's so true. Like you had a role model that went out there and like believed in themselves.
Totally. I had that mental mapping.
Right. You did. And then and he crushed it. And so you saw that as like, so a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
No.
So of course you're going to have you're much more not risk adverse. You're the opposite of risk adverse, right? Yep. Like you don't see any risk.
A risk seeker.
So a risk seeker, I was going to say, that's amazing.
Yep.
And so then, so 3 years you're working for Goldman, you decide.
Yep.
So while you were there, like at what point were you like, you know what, I'm going to go and start this oatmeal company? Like,
yeah. So I, quite frankly, was miserable there. I loved the competition. I loved that I was surrounded by really smart people doing really high level things.
Wait, I want to ask you something. Where else did you out of college, where did you even apply besides Goldman? Was it, or did you just apply
banks,
there?
But I was like, I'm going to Goldman.
Okay, so that was your number one. That was your number one.
Prior to college, I didn't even know what an investment bank was. Like, that's not the world I come from. I knew about the stock market. Like, I was, again, such a curious kid. I remember asking my dad, like, how does like a company, what is market value and how do stocks work? And blah, blah. I was always so interested in like how the world worked. But going into college, I barely knew what an investment bank was. By the time I was done, I knew that Goldman Sachs was the best one and that's where I wanted to work, like the most prestigious. And as a really competitive person who didn't exactly know like what fueled me and what my purpose was, it was really, the decision making was around like, just do the best. Like go for the best. Go for the quote unquote best. So I end up there, and 6 months in, I was like, holy shit.
Really? That fast?
Oh yeah. I'm like, it's like, so 6 months, like huge adjustment period, like so much stress on the system, like sitting for 12 hours a day. I had never done that before. It was like, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like you do what you're told, like just an interesting environment to adapt to. And
it's like torture to me.
It honestly is. It's kind of like, it is so not designed for humanity. Like that's a big theory of mine. Like technology has advanced so much quicker than the way humans have evolved. And there's like a big rub and friction between where tech is and like modern society and how humans actually are meant to live.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast, I believe too. No, I totally believe that to be true.
Totally. So where was I? Yeah. So 6 months in, I'm like, I don't know how people do it here. Like this is just so not for me. But
so how many women were there besides you? Or you're the only one?
Not a lot.
Oh, okay.
There are women on the trading floor. It's not like the 80s. Like there are women there and we're not just assistants. But no, not a ton. I actually met one of my favorite females ever, Sarah, who now works with us at MUSH.
She's here. Hello. Yeah.
Were you also a trader? I have to mention it.
Her direct counterpart as a salesperson on the trading floor.
Oh, got it. Okay. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Cornell.
Okay. So you're not an idiot either. Okay.
She's not. No.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And we used to almost like be brought to tears in the bathroom, just like consoling each other. I can
imagine.
Yeah. It was just,
you seem like normal too. Because you both seem like super,
She's
like
so normal.
Like, I have to, and then maybe I'm gonna. This is like so. Like I'm gonna get like such
preconceived notions.
Yeah, I was gonna say I better like be careful of how I say this. God knows around in today's time. But you guys don't seem like the kind of people I would normally expect to be somewhere like that, right? Like,
well, which is why we weren't supposed to be there.
Well, that's why you're here right now. And that's why we're talking about MUSH, right? Because
Exactly. Finance to oatmeal. Like it wasn't an organic fit. And I took a long, hard look in the mirror and was like, wow, this isn't for me. Like, what am I going to do about it? Like, what do I do? And I could tell it wasn't for me because my behavior was so compulsive. Like I was a servant to my mind. I wasn't a master of it. And I did everything I could to find an outlet for like the energy that was bottled up inside of me as a result of not being aligned with like my true purpose.
Absolutely.
And that sounds touchy-feely, but I was just like so wound up because I just wasn't meant to be there.
Well, were you even able to take, like, look, because you come here in like your bike, you know, in your like gym clothes, which by the way, I love. I knew right away we're going to be best friends. Right. And so like, were you even able to like take care of yourself, like work out or like eat properly or do anything?
I was
because
obsessed with working out. So
how were you able to before you started or after?
I was crazy. I was a complete, like I will say like completely psychotic. I would wake up every morning and Sarah can attest to this, wake up every morning at 4:30 and go for 5, 7, 10-mile run before I hit the desk. Like
wow,
truly nuts. I would walk in on the floor with my running shoes. Like I love that.
So that was a non-negotiable, even
non-negotiable. Like it was my outlet, my form of meditation. I was compelled to do it. And I knew that compulsion wasn't natural. I'm like, I'm compelled to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm compelled to do it. And then I was super regimented about food, but that's what inspired me to start MUSH.
Is your name Jennifer? I think of a long lost sister that lived in Canada back then. Okay, so this sounds like, I feel like I'm interviewing myself.
That's
Go
amazing. Well, see, I love that we can relate.
Yeah.
So I knew something was wrong. I didn't know how to articulate it, but I knew something was off. So running a lot. What do you need when you run? Energy. Yeah. Like you need energy. So every day I would have oatmeal, yogurt, and a banana as breakfast.
You would have that
every day.
So what kind of oatmeal? This Quaker Oats or
whole rolled oats? Yeah. I had like a canister of whole rolled oats in my filing cabinet next to my desk. And I would go over we had like little cafeterias off to the side of every trading floor and would just get hot water and I would chop a banana up, mix it in with some, I'm obsessed with fiance, Greek yogurt.
Oh, I used to love that too. I haven't had it forever though.
It's so good. A lot of people mix MUSH with fiance and it's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. The strawberry with the fiance, so good. It's
really?
So good. Yeah. Cause you get like the creamy texture, the high protein,
that's the
the macronutrient profiles are actually very complementary.
I'm so glad that you said that because that was my issue with, with eating it so much was because there was no protein content really in there. And I was making it like an alternative. Like one day I'll have eggs, one day I'll have your thing.
Versus an everyday thing.
That's a good idea.
I sort of view it as like a module to, like a component to a breakfast.
I mean, I could see why you would do that. That would be the smarter thing to do.
Well, it's what I did then, like oats and yogurt. So
That's so smart though.
Yeah. So I ate that every day. And when I didn't, and then I thought like, I was sick of just eating the same flavor every day, like banana with the oats. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty bland. So I started making overnight oats and bringing them in. But when I would forget, I would be like annoyed and I'd have to go back to just this dry oat, whatever. And I'm like, how come I can't buy overnight oats? Like, why isn't it in why can't I just go buy it in the grocery store?
Okay, not to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I thought there was a bunch of companies that, I felt like there was like a moment when a lot of people were doing overnight oats.
Not in 2015.
Oh, I guess you're right. 2015, you're probably like, you were very disruptive, right? Because there was nobody at that time.
No. Cold oatmeal was like.
You're right.
It started to, after that, like Pinterest and all these influencers, like it became the thing to do.
Yes, I'm thinking you're right. Back then, it was because 2015, because I've only known about you guys for a few years. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, like, why hasn't anyone done this? I really want to do this. I'm going to do this. And that was it.
Did you really? Did you do any like market research?
No.
But you didn't do any of that?
Absolutely not. I got some words of encouragement from
Sarah.
Sarah was like, run, get out of this hellhole before you become addicted. And I was like, okay, I'm out. No, I mean, definitely that. My father and mother were so supportive. My now fiance, extremely supportive. He was like, YOLO, like fucking do it.
That's
if you don't do it now,
amazing.
you'll never do it. And like my dad always said to me, you cannot make a mistake before you're 30. It's like, just do it. Like, stop. What are you worried about? Like, quit with the anxiety. Just go do it.
Right. You never know unless you try. But
you never know.
You were so lucky because you had, again, like a really strong support system that encouraged you, right?
He is not driven. Everyone's driven by fear. He's not driven by fear. He has so much faith. Like I don't want to tell his story for him, but like I could probably imagine that he's like, if I can get through losing both my parents at 17, like there's nothing I can't get through.
Right. You can start an oatmeal company.
Yeah, like you can go make oats. Like you're gonna be okay. And like if you're not, like I'm still your dad. I'm gonna be here for you.
Exactly.
And I had saved a bunch of money.
Right. Because you were probably making so much money.
So much money.
Like how much did they
I saved
start?
$80,000 in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So how much did they start you there?
6 figures.
So, right. So you were at Ray 24 making 6 figures. And your boyfriend at the time, what was he doing?
So he was working for his family company, but he then decided to leave that and became a Navy SEAL. So that's how we ended up in San Diego.
Oh my God. You're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. I love you now more.
Really?
So you're the Navy. I'm like obsessed with those people.
He's a badass.
He's a Navy SEAL.
He works at MUSH.
But he was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL.
What
he was
group
on
was he
Team
in?
1
Oh, okay.
in San Diego.
Really?
Yeah. He's crazy. He's amazing. Yeah. He's been an instrumental part of my journey for the last 7 years, I would say.
That's
like, without
amazing.
a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. He has like the strongest mind of anyone I know.
Oh, you have to be that's like next.
You either have to have a screw loose or you have to have a really strong mind.
100%. Like you have to, either one. Like, and I mean, maybe even it's a fine line. Maybe it's like teetering on both. Right?
Oh yeah. It comes out every now and again. I'm like, oh, you're actually nuts.
So Team 1 would be, what's the Team 1 compared to SEAL Team 6 and all that other stuff?
So SEAL Team 6, that's what do they call it? Something dev group or something?
DEFCON, isn't that?
I think dev group.
I don't know. I'm going to listen to you.
I'm terrible with memory. And now I'm questioning if it was Team 1 or Team 3. I know it was either 1 or 3. There's 12 teams and the odd teams are based in San Diego. The even teams are based in Virginia.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm pretty sure it was Team 1. But dev group Team 6 there. So it's like you become Navy SEAL and like then of the Navy SEALs, like the cream of those guys, the cream rises to the top. And those are the ones who go to SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
But my fiance, he got injured, had a really bad surgery. He broke his wrist on a Zodiac, like one of the boats. He was at like the front of the boat holding it down in a wave crash and he broke his wrist and they botched the surgery, unfortunately. And now he has to get a fusion. It's like a whole thing. But anyway, he was done. Like, I think he acknowledged he had something to prove. So he got through the program. And once he got through it, he was unfulfilled. He was like, I actually don't want to like kill people. Like I love serving this country. He has a unique story. His parents are from Ecuador. He was born in Miami. He's got this like extreme patriotism. So grateful for growing up in the country that we do. And so like had this romantic idea of it. His grandfather was the head of the Air Force in Ecuador and became like president or something, like some crazy story.
Yeah.
Anyway, he eventually realized that it wasn't for him.
It was more of like it was to see if he could do it, basically.
Exactly. And then once he did it, he was like, what's next?
Next one. Yeah.
And he hated living in that. I think that's something that everyone, like, I think I would encourage people to reflect on that if you constantly find yourself wondering what's next, you're unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Because what's next is like today, like being present in the moment. If you're truly happy and aligned to like what it is you're doing, of course you'll always think about like, what are my goals? But you have to have 2 feet in the present and be really grateful for where you're at today.
That's a great point. That's a very good point. That's very true. Because you're always I think there are people out there who are though constantly just searchers. They're always searching because they're never. There's something like empty happening.
Something
within
missing.
Them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No matter what they have in their present moment.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. And that's how he felt. And he thought like, I don't like feeling this way. And so he got out, medically discharged, and he started working at MUSH.
What does he do at MUSH now?
He's our COO. He's the most resourceful person ever. We just built out a manufacturing facility in Salt Lake, and he did it on like a shoestring budget.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible.
How many employees do you guys have now?
So with the facility, we have over 125 people.
Wow.
Yeah, but in HQ, we're climbing to like 26. We'll be at 30 probably by the end of the year.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Okay. So yeah, I want to hear the journey. So basically then you're like, we're getting all these tangents. I'm sorry. So then basically you're like, okay, I'm leaving. Did you have a plan at all? Or you're just like, I'm going to leave and I'm going to figure it out once I leave Goldman?
I truly did not have any real plan. No, planning was not in my nature. I was really driven by vision and impulse. And, I I'm not a process oriented person. I don't like stick to plans. I'm very much so more of a wanderer, I think. And, I think one of my superpowers is like seeing dots, connecting those dots, et cetera. So what I did have was like a really crystal clear vision for MUSH. But what I didn't have was a plan on how to achieve that vision.
Right. It makes sense.
That's what I've had to learn along the way. And I think that's been a huge learning curve for me. Just like in order to execute, there's sequencing, there's process, there's a lot that goes into it beyond just having the vision. Like I can dream really big, but you have to start small. And I think that was one of the things that enabled us to just get off the ground, like a ton of humility. You go from like making 6 figures, sitting in this cozy, one of the most beautiful office buildings in Manhattan, friends, whatever, to quite literally making and selling oats out of my kitchen into farmers markets with people telling me that I was crazy.
Right. And that's exactly it, right? Like
exactly. I mean, people were like, what? Like they didn't even understand the concept. I had people come up to me and like, is it garlic? Like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? Like, it was wild. It was a wild journey. And again, it's like that vision and being steadfast with like, no, this is going to work. I know it's going to work.
Right.
It's like that gut and intuition, which I think I've had to some degree.
So then did you start, like you said, in your kitchen, did you have a recipe to follow?
Heck no.
So like, how did you what did you do? You just basically were like, you quit one day, the next day you're like, are you just making it and putting it in the fridge and check and see if it tastes good?
Yes. Like making a complete mess in the kitchen. The first product had yogurt in it. So like I literally made the concoction that I was making at Goldman with the yogurt or what have you. And that was the first version. And I gave it to a couple of people to try and they're like, this is so gross.
Right? Oh my gosh.
I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. But so the beauty of starting in farmers markets, which are, God bless everyone who's ever sold anything in a farmer's market. Yeah. It is so intense.
It's a hard business.
It's hard.
It looks hard.
Oh, I have like PTSD from farmers market.
I can imagine. You got to set up every day. You got to break down.
The setup is and thank God, I've always been a very physical person. Like it was so physical, so physical. It got to the point where we were making the product and selling it. And we had a very short shelf life in the beginning. So we had to make it and then sell it.
And if you didn't, you probably had to waste a lot.
No. So we got clever. I mean, truly resourceful. We were nuts. Any product that didn't sell that we knew was going to expire out, we started to bake with it. And at the farmers markets, we would sell like these muffins made with mush that was left over that would have expired. And people like were more thrilled about the muffins than the mush. But I was like, I was so
Really?
dead set on, yeah. And I think about it now. I'm like, should we have done the muffins? Like, should we have scaled that? And maybe down the line, but no, like,
why didn't you though?
I see a bigger vision for what we have today. I think like spoonable nutrition. It's like the yogurt version of like oatmeal in yogurt form, essentially. And I just think that's a much bigger opportunity. There's a lot more consumption and occasions to drive there than like a traditional
muffin. Really? I would think, I mean, this is your world and that's why you're here, right? Like,
the numbers are interesting. I mean,
can you talk about that? Like, I'm just very curious because everyone could just grab and go a muffin, you know, with your product, you need a spoon, like you said, and it's much more, it can be messier than just like eating and going or.
That's true.
And the shelf life
but
too.
Like so muffins are, I mean, they're usually eaten for breakfast. The cool thing about mush is people are eating it for breakfast as a pre or post workout snack. It has more of a health halo, I would say.
Definitely
They have it for dessert, like the chocolate. People are constantly saying like, this has become my new dessert. Why? Because it's carbs and fat. Like a little bit of healthy fat, which mimics ice cream, but it's like less. You feel it's like permissible. It's so satiating.
It's the satiation of it, right? Because you feel like you're having something that's like, it's like it feels very dessert-like. That's the problem a little bit with me even eating it for breakfast because I feel like
almost think it's a little indulgent.
It is indulgent, right?
Yeah.
That's actually very true. And I have had it for desserts before, just for that very reason.
Yeah.
So you're right. So there's more opportunity for someone.
Yeah, there are more occasions.
But what about the fact that, and people have talked about this a lot, that when you have a product that needs to be refrigerated,
it's tough.
It's much more difficult, right?
It is. It's difficult. Yeah. I mean, cold supply chain is difficult. Building brands in refrigerated is much more difficult. Like one of the like practical ways of building a brand is in the store with huge displays, but there's limited refrigeration space.
That's right.
And there's limited availability to like procure huge refrigerators for a big like shelf block versus like you see like these water companies like Liquid Death and they've just have like a bunch of cases stacked like to the ceiling.
Yeah.
You can't do that, but that is an effective way to build brand. So you have to get creative. But I I think I'm the type of person, I've reflected on this and I've figured this out about myself. Like I never thought anything in life should be easy. Like I don't expect things to be easy. And I like to sign up for things that are hard, that I perceive as hard. I like doing hard things well.
Yeah.
I think that's like,
Jeff
Bezos says that. It's like, that's how you build reputation. You build reputation by doing hard things well. And again, like I was never able to articulate that until recently. I think that's part of just like it's in my DNA. And so I like the challenge of like, oh, well, not only is it new and better for you and blah, 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 but it's really hard because it's in, the refrigerator.
Right.
So
it's in the refrigerator. There's like all these other, like, I can't even imagine the different challenges, with COVID and the supply chain and having it to be I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Freight.
The freight stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, when freight overnight doubles, triples. It used to be like, $3,000 for a container from overseas to here for goods. And it shot up to like 13, 14 grand. And like, that just puts a ton of pressure. But again, like I think that's when, and don't get me wrong, I bet some people on my team would have been like, Ashley was crazy during COVID. But like, I think I thrive in the challenge.
In the challenge of it.
The problem solving, like the grinding it out. It's just always been in my nature. So it's like, oh, hard. Okay, bring it on.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to feel the pain. Like I'm like, there's comfort in the discomfort.
I love that. So then, okay, so now you're at the farmer's market. Is it who's helping you? Is your boyfriend helping you?
No, so
Sarah, I
had a co-founder, And
who was your co-founder, by the way?
Her name's Kat. She's an amazing woman. She was the one who introduced me to my fiance. They went to college together.
Oh, okay.
And we met at Goldman. So we were in training together, new hire training. They sat us in alphabetical order by last name. Talk about like, that's so Goldman.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So her last name was Thomas. Mine's Thompson. We sat together for 6 weeks, and then she went to Europe to work overseas for them. And then she quit, moved to Miami. Like I said, she was an athlete in college. So was my fiance. They knew each other then, and then they reconnected in Miami and became really, really good friends. I went down to visit her and she introduced us. And so the three of us moved out to California, Guy to be, go become a Navy SEAL, and then Kat and I to start this business. And I actually credit her for a lot of the flavors. Like she's a true foodie. I used to, my thoughts on food have evolved a lot. But I used to like eat to live, not live to eat.
Yeah.
Whereas she like found much more enjoyment in like cooking and experimenting with different flavors and textures. So she was instrumental in helping to develop a lot of the flavors, which I'm grateful for. She's awesome.
So is she not involved anymore?
She's not. So she crazy, 28 years old, had a really huge health scare, some heart problems, went through a really traumatic experience, had to get some surgeries. It was pretty brutal. And like we started the company to make the world a healthier place. Like the big problem to solve in my eyes is human health. Like environmental health, totally get it. But like, look at how many humans are suffering, and especially in America, like we are killing ourselves as a result of what we eat and what we do or don't do. And it's such a massive problem. And when the lifestyle of building this business coupled with this unfortunate event in her life and circumstance collided, and she became unhealthy, it was like, okay, I got it. My health is what matters. So let me go focus on that. And it truly took 24/7 focus and care to get back on track for her. So, she exited the business, but she's still the biggest fan. She's part of it still. And
when did she leave then? How long ago?
That was in it was late 2018 into 2019.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So, okay. So then how did you end up on Shark Tank? So then here you are at the farmer's market. Oh my
gosh.
So you're at the farmer's market. We're going back that far.
Shark Tank.
Yeah. And then, because Mark Cuban was your investor.
Yes.
Right. So I want to hear that story. So so this is very interesting for me, because I think for a lot of people who are fearful of starting something and not following what they want to do. Yeah. And then I like to hear the evolution of it, because I think it's super important for people and for myself also to understand how it worked with you. So here you are at the farmer's market and you're making your stuff.
Yeah.
Then what happens? Did you have any investor yet? Do you have any? Are you just making your own
bootstrapping?
You're just making mush.
A vow to poverty.
Right. Okay. So you're just making mush. You're showing up at the which farmer's market were you going to?
Every single one you could think of in San Diego.
Okay.
We were at the Little Italy Farmer's Market, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, Pacific Beach, everywhere.
And when you're just going there
and selling this product. And honestly, like we were probably there for a little too long, but the most important
was it called Mush, by the way, back then?
Yeah. Okay. Mush.
Mush, I call it. I'm
no,
Canadian.
Mush. You can do whatever you please. So we were at the farmers markets and we were gathering a lot of consumer insights, like what do people like about the product, the format, whatever. It was an amazing experience, taught us a lot. And one of the things it taught us was no one has a fucking clue what overnight oats are. Like no one knows what this is. And we were like, educating the world is like, how are we going to educate people in like a massive way.
Yeah.
Like there's like a big job to be done here. How are we going to do this with no money? There's just no way. And so we had started to sell our product in like cafes and gyms and coffee shops, like little one-offs. And one of the producers of Shark Tank saw our product and loved it. It might have even been, we launched in Whole Foods in 10 stores in the Southern Pacific region, like in California in March of 2017. And by May, someone had reached out from Shark Tank asking if we would audition. So we auditioned and they were like, your co-founder's great. You're pretty boring. Like truly. And I mean, I'm a hardcore introvert. So like
You are?
I am. I really am. I am.
So you don't seem it. You seem so good.
I've evolved. I really have evolved. I mean, back then I was like not afraid of my own shadow, just like so shy and nerdy and like uncomfortable. So anyway, they were like, you guys can come on, but like she needs to like up the energy.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I used to be my dad had a business partner at one point.
But you're fearless. That's what's so interesting. What a dichotomy.
Because I'm intense. I'm intense, but I'm like, I've always been quiet and shy and nerdy.
You're like the strong, silent type, basically.
Yes, I would say so. Like
because you're fearless. You have so much like passion and intensity.
I have fear. I think I combat it a lot. Like I fight with it. I'm a fighter. Yeah. I will fight through anything to get to a better outcome. Like anything. And
that's
it's
why
not
you and the
always
Navy SEAL get along so well.
We say it's like in violent love because it's just like there's toiling there for sure. And that's how it was in my house growing up too. Like we fought through things. So there's some sort of like comfort in that. Yeah.
So then, okay, so here we are.
All right. So they
partner
asked us
says
to
to you, or whatever, they say, okay, we're going to go on, but you have to kind of up the energy. Up the energy.
Yeah. Like
Ashley.
You got to be Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean,
like what you see is what you get. So I kind of like, I tried to fake it to get onto the show finally. But then like once we were there, I was just like, back to my old self. But it was the most amazing experience. So we get on and honestly, it was the most nerve-wracking experience of my life. Like I was shaking and I wore the worst outfit. I'm like, oh, regret. I try to not regret anything, but that outfit, I'm like, oof. And I had these like flowy pants, which I never wear. And like my legs like quivering and they're just like shaking on camera. And I'm like, what? So bad. So my fiance, he bought me like my first ever pair of designer shoes, a pair of Gucci slides. And I wear these gold Gucci slides. I still have them. I never wear them, but I wore them on this show. And I walk out and the guest shark was Rohan, who's big name in CPG. And
he has brands like, just say like he did the vitamin water. He's very famous for that.
Yeah, he's very famous for vitamin water, Pop Chips, Health Aid, all these awesome brands.
Now Poppy.
Yep. So I get out, we walk out and it's like silent for 30 seconds, which feels like 3 hours. Like they like pan the room and whatever, the cameras. And the first thing that comes out, and they didn't put it on the show, but Rohan goes, nice shoes. And I'll never forget it. I'm like, yes. And so, yeah, we pitched, what have you. And a lot of the sharks, I think what they could, like everyone was so excited for us, regardless of whether they liked the product or not. They were so excited because they could tell that it was like authentic, that we were putting our hearts and souls into it. We had put all of our money into it. We emptied our piggy banks into this.
How much money did you guys put of your own into it?
Eventually everything. I put everything in.
But at this point?
Pretty much everything. Like we needed money.
Yeah.
So we were there to make a deal so long as we didn't get taken advantage of.
Right. So how much, by the way, though, did you guys invest so far, though, you and your partner?
I think probably like over $50,000 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like, I think we were self-manufacturing. We needed to buy equipment. So I asked my dad for some money, which, you know, he's been so supportive. So
were you at a, what do you call those kitchens?
We were at a commercial kitchen.
Yeah. Okay.
And then eventually that was like a big milestone for us that when we got our own place. It's so funny looking at the pictures. I'm like, wow, it's like this dingy, like close to the Mexican border, this like super dingy, I mean, warehouse, like I think like mechanics like were on either side of us, like not food grade. And we're like in there mixing oats with our bare hands. I shouldn't say that.
No, but it's okay. I mean, that's what people do. How many flavors at this point did you have? How many SKUs?
Probably like 5.
Oh, you had 5 already?
Yeah. I think we had 5 at the time. A few of them don't exist anymore. Like we had cinnamon raisin peanut butter and we realized that like raisins are out. People just don't like raisins.
They don't like. I hate raisins. I'm glad to hear this.
Yeah,
really, I am. So then, like, did you guys have a buzz around you at this point?
No,
at all.
We were like,
were you selling even
the ugly stepchild?
I
don't know. Yeah. We didn't have much
Were you
buzz.
Selling though within the stores that you were in?
Yeah, we were. But there were definitely glimmers of product market fit. You know, it was working with a ton of support from us. So like once we launched in Whole Foods, like we were demoing in the stores. Like, you know, right? We were there. We were like demo queens, like
really
there just pounding. And again, I was so shy. Like they would ask like, who started the company? I'd be like, this woman named
Oh my God.
I don't want to.
You didn't want to talk about it.
No, like I don't know. I don't like being in the limelight, and I don't know. Now I can understand the beauty of telling the story and being proud of what we've cultivated. But it's so much greater than me. Like there are so many people behind it. I'm like, it's not me. It's the team. It's the world's like conspiring. What
a great attitude. Okay, so I'm sorry. So get back to Shark Tank. You're in there. Rohan loves your shoes. And then what happened?
Rohan loves my shoes, but he doesn't love the deal. So he starts like...
How much did you ask for?
I can't believe this.
Okay.
We asked for $300,000 in exchange for 10% of the company. So $3 million valuation. And Mark, like he was... I will never forget it. He's like, I'm going to let everyone else speak before me, but then I'm going to like do the deal. So he was like super confident. And so he lets everyone like, you know, either I'm out or I'm totally in. This is what I'm going to give you what you want. Then Rohan's like, look, I add so much value, like in so many words, like I add a ton of value because I know the space. Like, you know, if you want to blow up like pop chips, you know, then you should partner with me. And we're like, okay, but like what deal? And he wanted more equity for less, or I don't know, some deal that we didn't want to do. And Mark was like, don't do that deal. I'll give you what you want and an unlimited line of credit. And like, you know, it's Hollywood. So you're like, are you serious? Like no one has an unlimited line of credit, but we loved like, regardless of like the actual tactics, we loved the fact that he was so willing to lean in and just be so supportive. And at one point, like they start bickering, Rohan and Mark, and Rohan's like, do you want to be a true success like Pop Chips or change the world? And we were like, no, we want to change the world. Like we want to do something good. It's not about the money. We want to truly solve a problem. And the rest is history. And Mark is phenomenal. I mean, he's unbelievable. He is so supportive. I can email him at any time of the day and within 2 minutes, like his responses to me are quicker than anyone else's. He's amazing.
Can I tell you, you're like I think you're the 4th person to say that to me.
Yeah.
He's actually been an investor in a couple other people's businesses that I know. This girl, I think she has like a vegan pastrami or something. I don't remember what it is.
Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny.
She's so sweet. Actually, you reminded me. She just emailed me asking about something. I need to email her back.
Really? That is so funny. I remember meeting her somewhere and she was telling me all about her vegan pastrami.
Yes.
And then like next thing you know, she's making a deal with Mark Cuban on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
But everyone says that he's amazing.
He really is. I always tell people, because people love to ask about Shark Tank, Mark Cuban.
Yeah. Well, he's supposed to be on this podcast, by the way, twice. And it's always like rescheduled. You can tell him that I really would love him to be on this podcast.
I'm going to email him.
Could you?
Like, you need to get over here right now.
He said he's going to, my
he
friend.
He will.
Okay,
he
we'll
will.
It takes him. Note.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to promise you that, but I do like holding my promises. We'll work on him together.
Because I did actually, he emailed me back.
He would have so much fun.
And
he's got great stuff to share. He's awesome.
He's amazing. Of all those sharks.
Oh yeah. He's the real deal.
He's the real deal. And he makes the show now. Like he's the star of that entire
He does.
thing.
He can be like such a ham sometimes.
Everyone wants to work with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
because
obviously
he's awesome. But yes, he's been incredible. I always tell people, like, I've gone to the Mark Cuban School of Business. Like it's truly like just sound advice and like strategic advice. Like he won't get into the tactics of things like how to get this done, but he's like, here's how the world works and here's what you should be thinking about when making XYZ decision. Like whenever it's really hard, he's really great. And that's what you want.
That's what you want. So then he made this deal with you, because a lot of times people make these deals on Shark Tank and then they don't do it. Yeah, they don't go through.
Because they don't pass in diligence. Like Mark wants to do these deals. I mean, he's a businessman.
Right.
He 10% of the company for $300,000. Like he wants to get that deal done. He knows that that's venture, the probability of success, like the expected payout is beyond whatever. Yeah. So he wants to get it done. And we pass diligence. I mean, we're really honest about everything. What we had. Yeah. Like I think a lot of people get up there and
I think so too.
They just don't even like, I don't know. Like maybe they don't know better. And then it just doesn't go through.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah. And like he was, yeah. So we really wanted to get it done. He really wanted to get it done. We closed and we never looked back. It was I remember the day the money hit the account and I was like, no. Like at Goldman, like you see these like, we're doing $1 billion transactions,
exactly.
But it looks like funny money when it was like in the Bank of America bank account. I'm like, there's no way. This is like too cool.
And then like, did that just catapult you guys? Because
it did. It kind of like loosened up. I think of capital as like either constricting or loosening up the operating environment. And I think constraints in the operating environment can really breed creativity. But like there comes a point where it's so constricting that you can almost feel suffocated a little bit. Like we don't know, we can't get out of our own way.
Yeah.
And that like cushion of capital allowed us, capital increases your risk tolerance and it can enable you to dream a little bit bigger, to think about doing things a little bit differently, to take on a little more risk. And that's exactly what it did. It was like just enough to make us feel like, okay, this is the next thing we need to do. Whereas I think before we were kind of like, we need this machine, but we don't have the money and we don't trust any of these investors and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We haven't raised a lot, partially because I'm so skeptical of people.
Yeah, you're discerning.
Yeah.
You should be.
And, I take what I do very seriously, and I'm very discerning about who's around the table and for what reason. And I've always wanted it to sort of unfold organically, because I think that that's the best way it should unfold, not like force fit anything. I think that's where a lot of founders go wrong. It's like they just get ahead of themselves and it starts to become like uncontrollable.
That's, I think, happens a lot of the time.
A lot. It's sad too.
And it's sad.
Because they mean well. They're like excited.
Exactly. And you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times
you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And then like you have, unfortunately, you learn afterwards, right? That becomes your mistake that you have to learn from.
Totally. And you can't unwind it. Like,
you can't unwind
once you raise, you can't go back. And that was something like, again, back to, Bezos. I he's incredible, so bright, has a lot of great like frameworks for decision making, which I think is really important. And one of his is the one-way door decisions. Like, is it a one-way door decision or a two-way door? If it's a two-way door, you can go through it. And if it's not the right door to go through, you go right back and you sort of course correct. But one-way door, like, you literally cannot reverse. What's a one-way door? Having a child. What's a one-way door? Raising capital. So like, make sure when you walk through that door that it's with every ounce of conviction you have, because you can't reverse it.
That's so true. It's such a wonderful piece of advice too.
Yeah.
He does have a lot of these because
he's so bright.
Brilliant. I mean, bright is like an understatement, right?
Yeah.
So when your show when your show was on TV though?
Yeah, it aired in November of 2017. So we had launched in Whole Foods in March, and then it aired in November. It was wild.
Was it mayhem? Like, did you crash the internet? Like your website?
In 2 days, we got $500,000 worth of orders, and we had no way of fulfilling even a tenth of it. That was a traumatic time, actually. Like, so we aired right around Thanksgiving. We didn't finish shipping those orders that had come in those 2 days until the end of March.
Wow.
Because we had no supply.
Back then. So like
we had run out of cups. It was the no planning.
Yeah. That's
what got us. We just, the numbers that they had told us to project were very different from what we had received. So
what were you projecting?
I mean, not 10,000 orders. It was nuts. It was like, I thought maybe 1,000, 2,000, like, again, like a tenth of the volume. No, it was insane. And by the time that we started shipping the first wave of orders, then some of those people would reorder. So it just kept snowballing, and we didn't ship. I mean, it was a dark time. We pulled, I really am not kidding. We pulled 10 all-nighters in the month of December. My dad, who runs a business, came out for 2 weeks to help.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like, my fiance's mom came out for 2 weeks. She was like cooking and helping. It was nuts. At one point, I'll never forget it. It's like February. I'm like ready to break down. I honestly, it was like exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I emailed Mark. I'm like, Mark, like, we don't know, like, should we shut down the web? Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, we are so underwater, and it feels like there's no end in sight. Like, I'm like gassed right now. And he's like, just stop what you're doing. Go home and take a shower. Go to bed. Don't ship anything for the rest of the day, and get some sleep. And tomorrow you're going to go back and you're going to keep going. And don't shut the website off.
Really?
Yes. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that. Like, I needed someone to tell me what to do in that moment, because I was like fraught with I was overwhelmed.
But also, how could you not be? And also, isn't this like a very pivotal moment for companies? Because you don't have any product, and you have one chance to make a good impression, right? First chance to make a first impression.
And honestly, I think we probably didn't make a good impression to a lot of people. And like, I try not to look back on that too much, because I, quite frankly, am like, God, I feel so bad. Like, we always want to have the best interactions, but you learn these lessons in blood, and you can't look back. You got to keep moving forward. So I'm like a maniac about product now.
Now for sure, you learn from that.
I'm a maniac. Like, if it's all about the product. Everything. Like, you will solve everything with amazing product. Profit, the people you hire, your sales, distribution. It's about the product. And it is. Like, that's all it is. It's what keeps the lights on. It's like what facilitates commerce.
Exactly. That's what all amazing founder CEOs say when they have a product that, basically like a consumption product, or like that you're serving people with. Like, at the end of the day, that's all people care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes good, high quality.
Well,
yeah.
and also for food, especially at the end of the day, it can be as healthy as you want it to be. But if it tastes like shit, no one's going to buy it anyway.
No, I don't care what anyone says. Like I see a lot of, I get introduced to a lot of early stage CPG now because they're like, oh, you made it. I'm like, I have not made it. Oh my God. I feel like this is making me. I do not make it. It makes me.
Yeah, right.
But that's like, I had an idea, Guy Raz, like how I built this. It really should be how this built me.
Yeah.
Because it truly like changes
100%.
you as a human. But anyway,
That's very true. That's a good spin-off.
Yeah, it's the product and obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, the people. I mean, you have to surround yourself with amazing people.
It's hard to find really good people. You're lucky in that way that you were able to, especially now post-COVID, it's even more complicated, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But how did you find the rest? How did you get to the recipes? Because here you're making it. You told me you went from mixing with the yogurt that you did at Goldman. How did you kind of figure out the recipes for all these SKUs? Were you doing it? Did you hire a person to come on and
no? It was a lot of experimentation, and we drew inspiration from like traditional yogurt flavors, traditional oatmeal flavors, dessert flavors, websites, etc. I mean, it's all about experimentation, like iterating, constantly. And getting ideas even from consumers, like listen to people like, oh, I like your blueberry and I put banana in it. It's like, oh, okay. What should we be playing with banana? And like, what about that? Or like, oh, I put, walnuts on top of this one. And like, oh, what if we experimented with that? One. Yeah.
So all that happens. When was your next raise?
Yeah. So great question. We closed that deal in 2017 and then we didn't raise again until 2019 from the founders of RX Bar. So Peter Rahal, Jared Smith, and then their right hand who essentially built the sales and marketing team, Sam McBride. And, I had been introduced to Peter in 2018 at one point, and we got on the phone and I was kind of like, okay. I guess he figured it out. Like, I don't know. It was like kind of like a blah conversation, like nice and awesome, but whatever. And then my younger sister had moved to Chicago. And so I went to visit her. And again, I got into that same sort of mode of feeling like we're so constricted from an operating perspective. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't want to raise I don't want another partner. I want to just keep focusing heads down, but like, I think we need capital, all this stuff. So I reached out to Peter again. I was like, hey, I'm in Chicago. Do you have like a few minutes? Just want to chat with you about like what I'm thinking. Did you go through the same thing? And like in minutes, he's like, yeah, come to my office. Met him and hit it off. I mean, I think Peter, Sam, and I spoke for 3 hours just chatting. And they were like, well, why don't we invest? And I was like, okay, I guess. And that was it. And never looked back. And now they're like some of my biggest fans, biggest mentors. I adore Peter and Sam and Jared. They're amazing.
Amazing. So how much did they give you?
$1 million.
And that was in 2019?
2019. Yeah.
And they also have the experience. They were really good strategic partners as well. There weren't just money.
They're in the business.
And they had great exit.
Great exit, an amazing story. But even more importantly, like they are really good people.
Yeah.
They're good humans. And I love that Peter is a true entrepreneur. I mean, truly just totally gets it. Like when you take money from people who haven't operated, there's like a structural, like cognitive dissonance. There's just something blocking the like neurons. Like you can't relate. And he can totally relate.
Yeah.
Like totally. And it's comforting because everyone says it's like a lonely journey. It really is. And when you can share sort of the what you're grappling with and have someone truly like connect and be interested and engage, it's super rewarding.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
very lucky.
You're so I'd say you've kind of been but you create your own luck, right? Like these
Totally.
I don't believe in just luck for luck. I mean, you created your own luck in every step of the way. How much of the company did you have to give up for the $1 million?
That was 10%. I think we had raised
10,
at a $10 million valuation. So again, another 10%.
And then by that point though, were you already in other retailers besides Whole Foods or?
Yeah, we had started to branch out from Whole Foods. We were in a few other retailers, but we were still, really quite small. I think by then we had like truly proven out the concept that like, okay, this could be a brand. Like it's not, we know how to make good decisions. There's clearly some sort of product market fit. And I think they were really great coming in at that point, because what we then needed to learn was something that they could truly support us with, which is like people and hiring and like, commercialization strategy and what have you, like sales and marketing plans. They had just gone through it.
Yeah.
They were a few years ahead of us.
Did they start their own fund, or they just did a one-off with you?
It's so funny. No, they started to, it wasn't a formal fund. They started to invest with one another. And they were pretty cute with it. They formed an LLC to invest into MUSH, and it was called the Breakfast Club. So,
it's so cute.
Yeah, it was really cute. It was so funny. When I saw that come through on like the term sheet, I was like, oh, these guys are funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so since then, did you do another round or?
We did with our existing investors, and then a few other folks who've been mentors of mine from our finance days. So, and then Mark as well. Yeah. So our existing investors, and then a guy named Doug who has had a tremendous career. He's in the private equity space for the energy sector. He is, I think, one of the brightest people I've ever met.
Really?
What a machine. What a machine. So bright. He had gotten his start at Goldman. He became a partner there, then left, had this insane private equity career. Truly amazing. And he's awesome. Like so fun to be around. Like, again, you're like, oh, they might be stiff.
Yeah.
He is like the most progressive, like so fun, always down to have a good time, and like truly just like normal.
See, that's normal. That's the word. That's the word. I didn't want to be rude, but
yeah. What's normal? But
just like, who can connect to people.
He can, honestly, that's his superpower is connecting. He is so good with people.
Which fund is he, or which firm is he?
I think it's called Energy Capital Partners, ECP.
Is it out of New York?
Huge. Yeah. Billions and billions.
Yeah.
Out of New York. Actually, he spends time New York, Miami, and California. So he actually used to go to the Rancho Santa Fe Farmers Market.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he probably remembers your product there, or?
He didn't. But I was like, Doug, how did you not run into us? But yeah, he used to go to that farmer's market. So Doug, and then another amazing, super bright human, Quincy, who actually Sarah introduced me to. So one of her dear friends who, again, had a phenomenal, successful career in finance. And then one of the partners at Goldman who I looked up to all the time. I absolutely love him. His name is Rob Camacho. He's now at Blackstone, doing structured debt. Yeah, managing director there. He became like a super young partner. Actually, Sarah worked with Rob on the same desk. Yeah.
You know what? I'm sure there's something to it that I think people are comfortable, and you tell me if you think this, because of your background, that and in my opinion, this is my opinion, I feel that people invest in people more than the product, right?
Totally.
And I feel that you're so solid as someone who'd be running a company and founder with your background, and just even speaking with you now, that it helps so much when people, like, it's easier to raise money with someone like you than someone who doesn't have that pedigree behind them, right?
Yeah,
like,
I completely agree. I think like one of the biggest blessings was that I got my start in finance. Like, it's like,
yeah, it's
in
huge.
business, it's like the product, the people, and the funding. And like that funding portion, like, it can't be overlooked. You can really screw up a company with the wrong, capitalization or funding strategy. And I'm very comfortable with the financing of the business. I think that's been a big advantage. Like, I don't waste a lot of time figuring that out because I understand how it works. And I think they, like, all the investors around the table right now, they've all, I think, for sure invested in me and my vision. And the product does matter. Like, even these smart guys around the table, like, they want to see it succeed. And they know that a large portion of it is how you execute. But like, they were all super excited by the fact that this product wasn't like a Me Too product. It was really like new and novel. Like, it hasn't been done before.
But now there's a lot of Me Too's, right?
Yeah, there are.
I feel like there are, but then I can't think of any at the time.
I know a lot of people say that. They're like, there's a bunch of products coming out. I'm like, yeah,
but then
not
that many, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, there are, like, in competition, it's here, it'll come. But again, like, a business is not a zero-sum game. So I rarely think about it because I'm like, just because another company pops up doesn't mean that we can't exist. Like, there are Coca-Cola and Pepsi exist.
Well,
like,
you have an abundance mindset, not like the scarcity mindset type of.
Well, and that's funny you say that because I do think I grew up with a scarcity mindset and I've really had to work on that. You have to have an abundance mindset.
But I feel maybe you grew up with it, you started with that, but then you saw abundance.
Yeah.
So maybe over your life, it evolved into this.
It has.
Naturally, I would imagine.
Yeah.
What is your, like, revenue now, your annual revenue? And did COVID kill you or make you, or?
COVID did not kill us. No, it certainly slowed us down a little bit because retailers were not like authorizing new products as readily or as quickly. But we sort of like just kept going, charged through. I think we were at the perfect place and size of business to really weather the storm. Like, we weren't too big, I would say like over $50 million, where it's like really tough to like continue to grow if retailers aren't authorizing, because a lot of your distribution's coming from new doors.
So revenue's 50?
No, like we weren't over
Wow.
50.
Oh.
We're approaching. And then we weren't too small. Yeah, we weren't too small such that, if you're $1 million and like no one's authorized, like you can't get traction in COVID because it's just so noisy and no one cares about your new product. Everyone cares about surviving.
Right. And also I feel like so many brands just went bankrupt because they couldn't, brands who they couldn't sustain themselves because they were in this growth period.
I know. Like, the tide sort of goes out and you're caught with your pants down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. And the fact that how much of your sales are online versus retail?
We actually don't have a big direct to consumer business. So two things. One, the infrastructure in America is not built out well enough for refrigerated products. I was going to say,
because of the refrigerator problem.
And like, a lot of people are doing it, but it's not economical. Like, it does, the unit economics do not make sense. So when I think about asset allocation, like time, energy, financial capital, human capital, and D2C, it might be there's some size of prize, but the profitability of it is next to nothing. I'm not going to put a ton of assets behind that. Instead, I'm going to go to what's tried and true, which is the retail business. Right. So we've been really focused on that. The other idea I have, or like the other thought I have around direct to consumer, is that it's amazing to me that no one's called out just how impactful it is from an environmental perspective. Like, that has a huge impact on carbon footprint. All the corrugate, all the ice packs, all the the insulation, the FedEx trucks to drive it, the planes, whatever. It is so much more, it's way healthier for the environment to go to stores and buy goods, a lot of goods at once.
I agree with you. I'm surprised that nobody ever talks about that.
No one talks about it.
They don't talk about that at all.
But they're like death to plastic. And I totally get it. Plastic's an issue too. But what about
100%
us delivering like a paper clip on a Sunday?
Well, think about it. How, I get so many boxes, just products people want me to try, whatever, with the amount of packaging that goes, not just the actual box, but in the box is absurd. I'm throwing out so much stuff every single day. So much. And nobody ever does talk about that. It is insane.
Google it and it there's no literature on it. I'm like, how is the world not woken up to this?
That's what I don't understand. But the problem is, people cannot get into retail. It's very difficult because you need to have
so competitive.
It's so competitive. You need to have a distribution channel. You got to don't you? And you tell me that the demos in itself are so extremely expensive.
Yeah,
you need a budget for these things, and most companies now they're struggling. They have no other choice but to do it vis-a-vis Amazon or their website.
Yeah, it's like, there's a lot of short-term gain to be had digitally, but again, it's short-term. One of the most amazing lessons that Goldman ever taught us was the idea of being long-term greedy, and not greedy
I say that exactly, long-term greedy. I say that all the time.
Yeah, that's at least where I heard it the first time was Goldman. Be long-term greedy. Do the right thing by our customers for the long term. Foster that long-term relationship. Get the revenue that's sustainable. That coupon every year. Don't do things in the moment just because you might be able to get a big pop. And I think it's just easier. Anyone can throw anything up on the internet. It's hard to get into retail, but
it's extremely hard.
It's sticky and it's certainly it has bigger legs.
Can you tell me a couple for people starting out, or for entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs? What would you tell me? What would be the biggest lesson that you've learned, and one of the best qualities that you need to have to become an entrepreneur?
Biggest lesson learned. All right, qualities. Okay, I think I could answer that one, and I'll have to think about the other. Humility, no ego. I think in order to learn, you need to be humble. You need to know that you don't know everything and that you're coming to know things throughout the journey. So I think humility. I think discipline. It's consistency. Melissa Wood talked a lot about consistency and consistently showing up every day. That's discipline. It's it's focus. And I think it's so underrated. Think about it's a similar concept to compound interest. Just some gains every year that compound on itself. That focus does the same. And before you know it, your trajectory is just off to the moon. So that focus day after day, year after year, super important. Focusing for an uncommonly long period of time. I think that's really hard. As humans, we crave novelty, but we have to stick on the path. And then, discipline, humility, perseverance, vision. I think confidence in self. You have to have confidence. And then probably final thing, passion. You have to be passionate about what you're doing because it is so hard. It will bog you down. So if you're not connected to what you're doing emotionally, metaphysically, I think it's really easy to just, go hop to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's that passion, that will to do and create, that I think carries you really far. And then I think surrounding yourself with amazing people, it's so important. Everyone talks about you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. And it's so true. as a human, you learn from others, and those others need to know more than what you do, than what you know today. And so I constantly try to surround myself with people who can add to my perspective, cultivate it, make me better. The biggest lesson I learned in business, or so far, is like, it's just hard. You have to get really comfortable with making hard decisions. And when you don't, like, you avoid pain in the moment, but it comes back to haunt you in such big ways. And it's really tough. Like, I recommend this book by Ben Horowitz. He is one of the founders of Andreessen Horowitz, big Silicon Valley venture fund, super successful and so bright. But he wrote a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And like, that's exactly it. Like, hard shit is just hard. Yeah. And like, you gotta grapple with it. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable, but you gotta do it. Hard decisions, gotta make them, hard conversations. And like, I was pretty inept at like interacting with humans. I have like pretty low interpersonal sensitivity. Like, my emotional intelligence like was not super high, like EQ. And I've had to really, that's been an area of learning for me. And it's been difficult, but so necessary. Like, you have to motivate people, work with people. So
it's funny that you're saying that you have a low EQ, because I don't know if you're saying it.
I don't know anymore, but like, I did.
It's because you're being very humble, because you don't see, like, you're saying you're like I'm awkward. Honest. Yeah, but you don't to me,
you can't picture it, but like, I
really can't.
I wish I had like footage. I don't know. Like, I wish I could.
Is she much better now?
I am.
You are. But I don't think you're ever as bad as you think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean,
I'll send some photos from high school.
Will you? Okay.
Yeah. I'm like this dweeby 90-pound soaking wet braces. I mean, I came in and they were like, "Are you in 6th grade?" And it was remarkable. My best friend as a freshman was like this beautiful woman and womanly and athletic. And there I am, like, my backpack weighs more than me. Like, I was that person. I really was. I was.
You are so funny to me. Really, you are. I feel, okay. I have one other question I wanted to ask you that was relevant. No, I actually love that you're saying this. It's actually so endearing. And that's why I want to be your friend now. But if you'll take
you're
me.
Like, you need a friend.
Because I like you. Because
I would love that.
You seem so, you actually seem genuinely like down to earth and authentic. And I think those are very truly rare qualities. People can act that they are that way, but they're not really, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I see a lot of people like that, but you just seem like you really are. What you see is what you get. And I think that's part of, true. But I think that's part of the success here, because if you are that way, chances are your product is going to be similar.
It's authentic.
It is. And
MUSH is like it's like a physical form of
yeah. Because by the way, the ingredients, they are clean. Like, there's nothing in there. There's no added sugar. There's really no
added sugar, no artificial flavors or colors, no preservatives. And we're going to continue to make it as clean as possible. But I'm a big believer in that. Like, there's so many products that position themselves as better for you. And maybe to some degree they are, but like, there's fillers in there. There's stuff that like you can't buy in the market. I mean, like, ours are made with like fruits and oats and almonds and water. Yeah. Like, it's basic stuff that we just happen to put together for you.
Why are they so small, those little 6 ounces? Like, why can't you make a bigger one? Because I'm starving. Like, yeah,
I eat 2.
Like, I mean, I was going to say, am I the only one who eats 2?
I eat 2. But okay, I'm so glad you bring this up, because one of the best ways to tell whether or not a product is truly good for you, have 2 in a row. And if you don't if your stomach doesn't start gurgling or you got gas or what have you, it's truly a good product. And like, you can eat 2 MUSH and be totally fine.
Really?
But you can't eat 2 Quest Bar. Like, that's going to hurt you.
No.
That's that. You're going to regret that.
I know. Well, the problem.
Me too.
I think there's like that's where I think there's like a place in the market. Because I feel I have not yet found a protein bar that is really clean and satiating.
Yep.
And you feel like good about it. I cannot find them. They say they're clean, and then you look at all the ingredients or the ratios are not.
It's like
really
clean and then brown rice syrup. I'm like, what is that?
Right. Or there's a lot of tapioca.
Yeah, there's like a lot of binders in bars because that's what keeps the texture together. It's tough. We need some innovators.
And then can you make a protein bar?
Why not? Can make anything.
Yeah. I mean, can't we? Like as if it's my company, you know?
Why don't we should experiment.
I'm telling you, I really believe there is a market for this because people come to me. I get 10 DMs probably a week being like, hey, I'm wondering, I really am looking for a protein bar, and I've never been able to give anybody like
a solid recommendation. I will say, plug to Peter. I think he did a phenomenal job. That there's some cons, but a lot of pros to that product. And I think they're very good. And you can eat too and feel
they're clean.
Totally fine.
I will give them that.
Yeah.
The problem I have with it, the taste.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like what we said
it's date. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess I just feel like it is super clean. Maybe that's why. I don't think so. But it comes down to the taste, and the taste to me is just not, I don't feel after I finish it that like, oh, that's satiating. It's that satiation that's the problem.
Yep. Which is, I think MUSH so delivers on that. Like you feel
satiated. But you know what I think will be a great, maybe you can do, if you make like a MUSH with that yogurt in a bar form.
Oh yeah.
Can you do that?
Oh yeah.
Add like protein to that and create a bar form.
Let's do it.
I'm serious. I think that would be a great product.
I think it would be too.
Because your products are very tasty. Like it's super tasty.
Totally.
And
it has to taste good.
It has to taste good.
Has to taste good. Has to deliver. Yeah.
You know, it's another one that's amazing that I've found, like they're Canadian. Have you tried the midday squares?
Say. Yeah. I have not.
I'm going to give you some.
Do you love them?
I really like them. I think they're delicious. I've given away, I'm not even exaggerating, probably 1,000 bars. No. I'm not joking. Wow. That's how many bars. I mean, I'm like a huge fan because if you're going to eat chocolate.
Yeah.
Is it super healthy? It's chocolate. Okay.
No, I think,
it's chocolate.
Yeah.
But they do a fantastic job.
You like the taste.
In terms of, I like the taste. The peanut butter ones are delicious.
Yep.
And they do a fantastic job with their marketing, with their branding.
Yep.
They're creating like a media company around themselves.
Yeah.
And they have a huge valuation. I mean, it's like very high.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other story. But as a product that I've seen, like I've been following them for a long time, and
yeah,
I think they're doing a really good job. And like you feel okay eating it, right? Because it's the protein content, they add fiber to it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But that's still not a protein bar.
No.
It's chocolate.
It's chocolate.
Like I'm not eating that for breakfast.
And I think they've positioned it in that way. Yeah. Like they're not trying to be something that they're, functional chocolate. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's delicious.
Yeah.
But my point is there's very few brands, and I get like tons of stuff here that I've ever been like that excited about.
Yeah.
You know, that you can really integrate.
It's tough.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like something, I always think about product development. Like you have to, I think the products worthy of developing are things that you can eat every day.
Like exactly. Integrate into your day-to-day life.
Every day. Like it's not a treat. It's not a once a time thing. It's an all the time thing.
Totally.
That's the stuff that really excites me. I think there's a lot of power in that.
I agree. So what's the next iteration for MUSH?
Maybe a bar.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm going to follow up with you about this because I'm serious.
Let's do it. No, there's definitely some cool concepts in the bar space. I think what's next is continuing to beat the drum with this current line. Maybe come out with some amazing flavors. The best flavor hasn't been released yet, I will say.
What is it?
Should I mention it?
It's
my favorite.
What is it?
Chocolate peanut butter. It's so good.
Oh my God, you have chocolate. First of all,
okay. You love chocolate peanut butter.
Yeah, I do. I love chocolate peanut butter.
Me too. I mean, anyone who's in fitness loves a good chocolate peanut butter anything.
That's
right?
why I'm going to give you this midday
like
square.
Nike should make chocolate peanut butter sneakers, like brown and whatever.
100%.
Like it would kill it. And so anyway, this flavor is phenomenal and it's got some great protein.
When is it coming out?
January.
Because
we're talking double-digit protein content.
Really?
Yeah. So
That
I'm
could
excited.
be a game changer.
Yeah.
That could be a game changer.
Well,
what
here
took
we
so
go.
long?
My stubbornness, honestly. I hate saying this. Peter will kill me. He'll also be like, what took so long?
Yeah.
He's been beating me upside the head with this. You know, what took so long is like, I think quite frankly, and there's no excuse. It's just the reality of it. We focused on the product. We found product market fit to some degree. And then it was a true concerted effort on building the team to scale the product. And that was the part that took the most time for me to learn.
Yeah.
Like I had to like really invest, executive coach, like reading books about how to win friends and influence people. I mean, like one of the chapters, like smile. I'm like, okay, I gotta smile.
You didn't know that? God.
No, like
Girl, I
I'm
can
like,
help you with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my
no.
gosh.
So I like truly, when I say like people and affiliation and tribes, like I'm like a lone wolf sometimes. And it just didn't come naturally to me. It's just not in my DNA, but I've been able to. I think like anyone, you can learn how to do anything if you put your mind to it. And I've really had to learn how to cultivate those skills, and it took a lot of time and energy. And so I don't regret it, but like there was a shift in focus. And so now that I have a great team around me who can manage people well.
And you can just focus on what you're good at.
Focus on product and growth and all the other stuff. So I'm really lucky in that sense. I have the most amazing team.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to wrap this up because it's been forever.
Yes.
And I actually want you to come back on there because I actually have a ton of questions that I haven't even gotten to.
I'll come anytime. Any excuse to come see you, use the gym, the pool.
I'm serious.
As long as I can stay here for a few days.
You can stay here for as long as you want. I wasn't joking. I mean, I'm telling you, I think
Thank you.
I really love the story, and I like, it's just been so long, and people are probably like, we just, like it's like 2 hours or however long it's been, but,
No,
and I have
thank
someone, of
you.
course, waiting, but people buy MUSH. It's delicious. You can buy it anywhere. I buy it at Sprouts. You can buy it at Whole Foods. You can buy it anywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sprout. Not anywhere. We're working
That's
on that.
true. Okay.
We want to make it accessible everywhere, but Sprouts, Whole Foods, some Costco, Target. We've got some great distribution, some amazing retail partners, and I highly recommend going and getting some.
I do too. The apple cinnamon is delicious, and then peanut butter I can't wait to try. But
Well, you'll be one of our first
hope so.
recipients. Absolutely.
I hope so. Well, thank you so
VIP.
much for being here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Pleasure to be here.
We're gonna say goodbye.
Bye.
Habits and hustle, time to get it rolling. Stay up on the grind, don't stop, keep it going. Habits and hustle, from nothing into something. All out, hosted by Jennifer Cohen. Visionaries, tune in, you can get to know them. Be inspired, this is your moment. Excuses, we ain't having that. The Habits and Hustle podcast, powered by Habit Nest.